"You're outdated. We're done here." The CEO hissed it across the glass table like a verdict already signed. The boardroom lights were too bright, white, surgical, the kind of light that exposes flaws people think they've hidden. I didn't blink, didn't argue, didn't remind him whose idea built half the company sitting behind him. I simply nodded and said, "Understood." That was the moment the retirement trust activated its voting rights. By Monday morning, the board convened an emergency meeting. One question echoed through the room, stripped of arrogance, soaked in panic. Who just fired the man who owns 76% of the shares? I watched it all from my phone, sitting alone in my car, IV port still taped to my chest from chemotherapy. Cancer had taught me something invaluable. When people think you're dying, they stop pretending. Before the cancer, before the betrayal, before silence became my weapon, there was her, my wife. We met when I was still invisible, before money, before power, before my name started opening doors. She liked to tell people she believed in me before anyone else did. That wasn't true. I believed in myself. She just arrived early enough to benefit. We built a life that looked solid from the outside, a house with wide windows, neutral furniture, carefully curated happiness. She laughed loudly at my jokes in public and sighed heavily at my ambition in private. "You work too much," she'd say, scrolling her phone. "You're always thinking 3 steps ahead." She used to say that like it was a flaw. When the company took off, she changed. Not dramatically, that would have been honest. Subtly. More gym time, new clothes, new friends, dinners that ran late, a phone that never left her hand but somehow never had notifications. I noticed everything. I always do, but I didn't accuse, didn't confront, didn't reach for drama. I filed it away. Then the doctor sat me down. Stage 3, aggressive, treatable, but ugly. He spoke statistics, survival rates, protocols. All I heard was the sound of time accelerating. When I told my wife, she cried beautifully. Perfect tears, perfect timing. She held my hand like it was fragile glass. That night, she slept facing away from me. Cancer strips life down to essentials. What matters? Who stays? Who waits for you to weaken? The first chemo session drained me. I came home early, unannounced, nauseous, dizzy, quiet. Her car wasn't in the driveway. I didn't think much of it. I went upstairs, collapsed on the bed, and slept. I woke up to laughter, not hers alone, a man's voice, familiar, too familiar, downstairs. I didn't rush, didn't panic, didn't storm. I stood at the top of the stairs, holding the railing, listening. "I told you he wouldn't be back until late," she said, soft, intimate, careless. The man laughed. "I almost feel bad." She didn't respond. I stepped back into the darkness. That was the moment pain became precision. The next day I hired a private investigator. I didn't cry, I didn't ask why. I wanted facts, dates, locations, proof. The PI delivered quietly, professionally, photos, videos, receipts, hotel rooms, hands intertwined. My colleague, my protege, the man I'd fast-tracked into executive leadership, the man who now answered to the CEO who thought I was outdated. It was almost poetic, almost. I didn't confront them, that's what they expected. Instead, I prepared. While my body endured poison meant to save me, my mind sharpened. I reread contracts, trust documents, shareholder agreements, prenuptial clauses she'd signed without reading, too busy planning the wedding. I made calls from hospital hallways, quiet ones, legal ones. I moved assets into structures that required 2 signatures, mine and a trustee who hated betrayal more than I did. I adjusted my will, not out of fear, out of control. I let my wife think I was weakening. She brought soup she didn't make, sat beside me scrolling while pretending to listen. She started spending more nights helping friends. I encouraged it. I encouraged everything. At work, the CEO started pushing me out. Soft power plays, exclusion, meetings moved without notice. He thought my illness made me obsolete. I let him think that too. The retirement trust had been my idea years earlier, a safeguard disguised as philanthropy. I'd never activated it, until now. The PI kept feeding me updates. They were planning a future, together, without me. I planned one too, with consequences. The CEO fired me on a Thursday, publicly. He wanted spectacle. I gave him silence. Friday night, I authorized the trust. Saturday, the lawyers worked. Sunday, the votes were counted. Monday morning, the boardroom filled with men who suddenly realized how fragile power feels when it isn't actually yours. The CEO arrived confident. He left pale. They removed him first. Then they reviewed executive conduct. My protégé's affair violated 3 clauses. He was terminated by noon. I didn't attend. I didn't need to. That evening I came home early again. This time I didn't hide. I laid the PI's report on the kitchen table, photos facing up. She walked in, froze, her face collapsed like bad architecture. "I can explain," she whispered. I shook my head. "No," I said calmly, "you can leave." She laughed nervously. "You're sick. You need me." I finally looked at her, really looked. "I survived cancer," I said. "I don't need liars." She tried anger, tears, bargaining. I handed her the envelope, divorce papers, asset breakdown. She got what she earned, which wasn't much. She tried to call him. He didn't answer. Because he couldn't, because his company email was disabled, because his access badge no longer worked, because his future had evaporated between meetings. The CEO tried to sue. He lost, quietly. I returned to the company 6 months later, not as an employee, as the majority owner. They stood when I entered. I didn't ask them to. Power doesn't need permission. Cancer went into remission. My life did too. I don't miss her. I don't miss them. Betrayal taught me clarity. Illness taught me patience. Revenge taught me restraint. I don't raise my voice anymore. I don't need to. Because when I say understood, what I really mean is I've already won.